Hey, Bart Miller here with Cycling Strong. We have got an opportunity today to have SRM in an interview, a Skype interview, and we've got Uli with us, the president of the company. He's going to walk us through some questions that I am dying to find the answers to. Most of you out there know I've been riding power for a long time, and the power space is changing a lot. We just did an interview with Hunter Allen not too long ago, and you'll probably see that. And we talked a lot about training with power, and he also brought up SRM and what they've done for the industry. So to be able to have this opportunity to ask these questions is just amazing. So Uli, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us and help us with power.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. So I will enjoy the next minutes.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to start off with some questions, and hopefully you're going to start off with some great answers. All right, so first thing first is there's a lot of software out there that people are using for capturing data from, I upload to Strava, I do to all sorts of these different platforms. What platform are you using right now for to capture data from SRM?
Myself, the SRM software that comes with a package.
Yes.
And Golden Cheetah. The free software you can get for Mac and Windows, and this does a little more than what the SRM does. SRM has some other advantage. It goes more deeper in the analyzing of data, but also Golden Cheetah makes a great overview of what we have done in the last months and gives you a point on the data how we have improved during the training personal performance. So
good, okay.
This is how I see it. But I know Training Peaks, they make great software. Coaches love them, like Sky uses them in other teams, and they're very happy with this. So that's fine with me.
Okay.
Me personally, I have my own software for them.
So SRM is the predominant software you love, and then Golden Cheetah is another software that you'd recommend out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I recommend using Training Peaks. It's the very now maybe it's the best on the market, but it does a lot of things what I don't need.
Right.
So I just do the limits what I need and what information I need, and SRM and Golden Cheetah provides the information for me.
Yeah, good. I've read lots of good things about both softwares. So I think the biggest thing is to get software and make sure you're looking at your data, right?
Yes, and important is that the software makes it easy to see how you improve by the training, and does not make it too difficult. Because simply you're trying to increase your performance, and you want to see how much your performance increased, and this is only what you need to know. And then you need a coach that tells you what you coach yourself, what is the next things you have to do to get better. And so you need a software and a feedback of the past training to create the training for the future.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, good. Well, thank you for that little bit of information. The next thing that I'd like to go into is that you guys have got some press out there a little bit on a brand new head unit that you've got coming out. So tell us a little bit and what you can about this new head unit. I know we're all excited to be trying that out.
Now we're working with the default TC8, and there will be in all the features what our competitors have. That means there will be GPS, wireless, different kind of a plug. We will have a plug what similar Apple uses with a magnetic connection. It makes it easy. The same plug will be used for some power meters. They will be rechargeable. There will be Bluetooth like of power. This space from the customer can organize the numbers the way he wants. It's new. Yeah, that's new. So definitely what the competitors have, and maybe a little more of variety, the end user can change.
That sounds.
It will be a very, very good contrast, and I think it will make it easy to read the data during the training. This is, I think, a big problem with a lot of computers, that the data are not clear enough, and it's not enough feedback when you're training. So I think how important it is to make it visually clear, reduced to the amount of data we need, and this should help you to improve the training.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. It sounds like you've made a ton of changes to that head unit. That's awesome.
Yeah, it will be a little bit bigger, but the main difference will be the display. The customer can modify the way he wants. Then it will have GPS recording, so it's easier than to track where you have been. And the other thing is the connection will be wireless and Bluetooth. So for downloading data, it will be not needed to connect it by wire to computer.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I like a couple of different ones I've used. I've used the Quarq power meter with the Garmin head unit. And the problem with the Garmin head unit is that when I want to see a certain segment, like if I'm starting at the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill, I can't watch that on my actual, head unit. I have to wait till I get home to actually take a look at that. So
cannot make stops. You cannot set markers.
Right. You can put a marker on there, but you can't look at it in live time. So I can't get to the top of the hill and say, oh, wow, I put out 285 watts on this segment, so I have to go back. So I went to a CompuTrainer head unit so that I could try to learn more on that, and that helped. But I'm glad to hear that you're doing all that. That's really cool.
EC7 has this in. So if you make intervals, you can, during the training, go back to all the intervals you did with average heart rate, power, speed, cadence, the timing, the altitude. But this is, I think, already in the first power kernel we made 25 years ago.
Yeah.
This is a very, very, very important feature to see the intervals, what we have done, and be able to record them during the training. Because this has influenced how more intervals maybe you do.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's I'm really excited about that. So Uli, tell me how you actually started the company.
I was an amateur cyclist, and I was very focused on training. And very early I figured out it's needed to measure the power, to specify the quality and quantity of training you're doing. So I started thinking about a way to measure power on the bike in around maybe 86, 85. And I had the first power meter ready in 1988.
Wow.
The first power meters were used by the Sports University in Cologne. And then very quick, I started working with the German Federation. And then doing my work with the German Federation, I got connected to the Federation of the United States, Italian Federation. So it was really quick spread out to the top end users and also to the best pros. It took maybe only 2 or 3 years to get a friend of Greg Lemon or of Laura Fignon, who were the first users. They used them already back in the early 90s. I remember doing a whole Giro d'Italia of Greg Lemon. I have still the starter from 93, the picture. I think must be that Greg Lemon already did the whole Giro with an SRM.
Wow.
A shoebox on a handlebar, but he did, so it was nice. And then from that time on, a lot of pros used this for the training mainly, but some for racing. I remember Bjarne Riis winning an Amstel Gold Race with an SRM on, and what year was this? 96, 97. It was the year after he won the Tour de France. So, 97. Yeah, so it was great. It took a long time that competition was the first, the original name was not PowerTap, the name was Eaton, yeah. And then later come Echo from Ergomo, and then the other things. But right away when I started, a year later, Look came up with the next one. It was a system based in the rear hub, similar like PowerTap, but they haven't made it. So I was for long years the only power meter. So
wow.
Now when you look up, maybe there are, I would say, 5 companies I could call competitors. Like Quarq is one, but they work similar like SRM or Power2Max. It's a similar system, I would say a copy. Then you have the systems in the rear, like PowerTap, and then the systems pedal in the systems based in the pedal, like what Look has and Band. And then the last one is the rotor with the language strips on the frames.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, I would say, it's on the market what I call as a power meter.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's been a big change from the day you started and being a pioneer to the industry to where it is today. And I'm sure as we get into this interview, you'll be able to tell us some of the things that we need to be aware of that's happening out there in the power space that might not be for our best interest. Yeah. So, So that leads me to my next question is, what important features should a power meter have that are specifically to improve power on the bike?
It's simply, it should provide reliable data, power, cadence, because you need cadence, it's almost the same important as power, and this need to be reliable. You need a system simply that works every day, and you have not to deal with any problem. So this was our philosophy. This is still why the most of our power meters have a battery inside. It has a lifetime almost up to 2,000 hours. So for the most of the pros, they can use this unit for 2 years without thinking about anything. And I think most of the customers, they can ride 4 years without anything. But right now we have started developing a power meter that will charge every battery for the off-road part, BMX mountain bike, and also with a power meter where the batteries will be in the X basement. We launched already last year, some difficulties, but the tests already have started. So there will be options also for our customers who want to replace the battery at their own. They will be able to do this. But our philosophy is to sell a system that runs at least 1 year without any problem. This is why the most of our power meters have the battery inside well sealed and in a lifetime almost up to 2,000 hours.
Very cool. Okay, so you say that the big important things are cadence and be able to read power and be able to have the data for yourself to be able to read and look at is the most critical things that you would say in a power meter.
Reliable. Simply should work. No drop-off data, it should flawless work, and you need to think about your power meter. You should focus on the training, and the power meter is a tool. It should make your training better. And the power meter simply should provide the power data, reliable, nothing else.
How can power change a rider's life as far as, a lot of people out there are not converted to power yet. What's your opinion of that?
My opinion to a good training is you need, the first is the time, how long you train. The intensity, and the intensity, you have the intensity of your body. Like I would say, you can look at your heart rate. Is it a good sign how hard is it for yourself? Then you have the physical intensity and the power. Then you need the last thing is the cadence. These are the four values. They are very important. This is the main thing on every training. Altitude is nice, GPS is nice, temperature, all these things are nice to have. But really what you need to have is the power, heart rate, time, and cadence. And then with this value, you can make your training, I would say 95% perfect. But this data must be really reliable and consistent. Then I think you have everything what you need.
It's awesome. So
they must be clear that you look on this data, it must be visual, you must see this, and not like need a magnifier to see on the head unit what is what's written and all these things.
Yeah, good point. I think that's very true. So are all power meters created equal then, in your mind?
I do not know. I know that we put a lot of effort to make our power meters precise as possible. But if you start comparing and you read on our power meters 2% accuracy, 3%, whatever, but then you get to the point, what is accuracy?
Right.
So you can see, okay, is it accuracy, whatever I chain link have on, is it accuracy in every position of the crank, like in a 90-degree crank or in a 180-degree crank position? Does it measure left and right side crank the same precise? Is it the accuracy every temple the same? So there are a lot of things. And I think our power meter takes track of what slope used. Slope is a calibration factor of the power meter, and what zero offset the power meter provides. This is recorded in the training file, and every customer can see how precise is the device. And also with the power meter, what we sell, it's easy for every customer to weight on the crank, and he can see how precise it is. The same like you can buy a scale, and you put on a weight on the scale and see, okay, this is what the scale shows it, and this is my weight. Then you see, okay, the scale is precise. And this is what we want to provide the transparency, how the power meter is measured the data, like we have a slope hertz per Newton meter. It's a simple physical value. And And everyone can test and see, okay, how precise is this device? And it's easy to hang a weight on the crank or on the chain. And then you can check, okay, my power meter is this efforts. I don't know if the competitors have this that easy to check, but I'm not that sure.
Yeah, well, you've been the standard out there, obviously, for a long period of time. I know everybody that goes out there, all the comparisons I've seen as far as power meters go, they're always comparing to an SRM. So you're obviously very accurate and have had the industry for quite some time. So I guess that talks a lot of, highly about you and the quality of product that you've produced. So for sure, there's a lot of people out there that compare everything to you guys. The next question is do you need to send your power meter back, which we kind of talked about each and every year? And the reason I ask that is my Quarq has a battery that's on the outside of it, but I've still had to send it back twice. So people, one of the original times when I was buying my power meter was don't buy an SRM exactly for what you said, is because the battery's inside of it. You're going to have to send it back for maintenance. You're going to have to do this. And I said, well, okay. So I bought the Quarq with that in mind, but I've still had to send it back twice. Even because the battery's on the outside does not mean that it doesn't need to be calibrated or that, all those different things. So I'll let you speak on that, but I think that's a farce that people try to convince themselves of.
Okay, I don't know, with the Quarq, I think the battery maybe around 300 hours or 400, whatever, sometimes less. Our battery runs almost 10 times longer. But also the power meter has a counter inside, how long it will run in the future. So when you buy a new SRM, let's say there's written 2,000 hours of use, then this counts down so that the head unit tells you when you have to send the power meter back.
Oh, cool.
So all the teams use it for, they used all, and at the end of the year there was no team that were less than, after 1 year, than 600 hours left.
Wow.
With the one battery. And if a normal customer, let's say, goes an hour a day, then he has, let's say, 300 hours a year. Or if he goes 2 hours a day, he has 600 hours a year. So 2 years is 1,200 hours. 3 years is 1,800 hours. So right now, with an average power meter, you train every day 2 hours, let's say. Sometimes maybe you have no training, let's say 600 hours a year. You have still 3 years you can train, and then you can send it back. But if you have done that much time on it, I think it's also wise to make a recalibration and a check of the whole thing. And then also, if you have looked on the crank that runs that much of time, and the chainings, they do not look that well anymore. So
yeah,
it's time maybe to look a complete overhaul. But for sure, it runs more than a year. No one can put more than, I think, 1,800 hours a year on his bike. You have to train every day. How much? 7 hours? 7, 8 hours every day.
Yeah.
I not seen anyone, because the people who train that much, they have more than one bike.
Yeah.
This is the other thing. They have a mountain bike, they have a country bike, they have a road bike. So even then, the time you spend on one power meter gets less.
Yeah.
Or this bike, or the training bike.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think I just think it's something that people use as a selling point, which really is not a selling point. Reality is that your power meter will last plenty long with what you're trying to do there, and I agree with you. I think it needs to be looked at and updated and make sure it's taken care of, anyways.
This is a selling point in the US and in Europe. I spoke with Italian customers, European. They are happy to send the systems end of the season or every second year back for a week. Get it completely checked to be sure the next year everything is all fine and everything is correct. So they have not a really problem with this.
Us darn Americans.
Yeah, but it's sure it will not stop in the middle, because it tells you, like on the gas tank, it tells you, okay, the gas gets empty, now I have to refill.
Yeah.
And if you have a gas tank on your car that runs 100,000 miles, then maybe you would be happy and you buy a car that runs 100,000 miles and need to stop at any gas station. So it simply runs, and then when you get to the 100,000 miles, you get it in the service, and then you get refilled for the next 100,000 miles.
Yeah, good example. It's a good example. So that how durable are your power meters?
Yeah, I think we have no problem with this. We have, I think last year we had 80% of the Tour de France races, or maybe even more. And we have no problems is the quality of brakes, or if there's something breaks, then it's mainly the crank.
Right.
But this could be caused by previous crashes and things like this. But this is not an issue. None of the pros put it on the bike and do the race if they would have problems with the quality.
I agree.
Not use it.
Yeah, very, very good point. So, how important is it on your power meter to have left leg, right leg readings? I mean, because you're reading a lot about in the blogs right now that, I want to see the power of my left leg versus my right leg. Can you address that for us?
For the daily training, it's unimportant. I think it's nice to have when you go in the laboratory and make a test on an ergometer. But for the outside, if the given situation, you cannot change. For example, your right leg has 60% of force and it's and the left leg 40. There's a reason behind this. And if you try now to make both legs equal, then maybe you will hurt the weaker leg. And also there's a change, like I remember we did test with Gordon many years ago, and under the threshold one leg was strong and above the threshold the other leg. This was always the same, and when I look back at Pantani, he had a very weak one leg with two maximum peaks caused by a crash. Still, he won the Tour de France. So I think it's important to see how you pedal and all this, but only in a laboratory when you can focus on this and not sitting on the road. You have to watch the traffic, you're on the trail, you have to look what goes around. You have not the time. I think it's interesting in the laboratory to see your torque analysis, how you pedal. You can focus on this and you can try to improve your seating, you can work on the saddle, on the seat highs and all the positions. But outside, on the road, it's, I would say,
okay, good.
This is my option, but for sure in a laboratory, it's nice to see everything on an ergometer.
All right, the next question is, will power help me determine my strengths and weaknesses in my riding?
Yes. Yeah, the power is, you train to increase your power or keep your power stable. This is why you train. And if you have this value, you see actually how strong you are at that moment. You can look back to the old data and see, okay, a month ago I was that strong, I did this amount of training in between. Now I've increased my maximum power on 5 minutes maybe by 30 watts. So this gives you a real value, how strong you are, or even if you keep the power at the same level and you lose 10 kilogram, then still you see, okay, now I have 10 kilogram less weight, but still can provide the same power. So the power is a needed factor to describe your fitness.
So how can power help you? How can power help you find the gearing that you need then?
The gearing maybe not, but for example, I make a training for you. I say, okay, today you have 3 hours training.
Yep.
And on the training list are intervals, let's say 4 intervals of 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then I tell you, okay, the 4 intervals of 10 minutes you have to do, let's say, with 320 watts. And I tell you a cadence of 90 or 85, whatever, it depends if it's based to increase your strength, then I could say maybe do a cadence with 60, go on a hill. If it's more based to make your pedaling better, and then you go on a flat and say, okay, you need a cadence of 100. But then watts, and then the cadence 100 plus mile. Then you have a break, let's say 10-15 minutes, then you do the next interval, the next. So the record is, here goes the heart rate, and maybe a week later you do a similar thing. Then you see an improvement. You can look at your power and then you can see how much the heart rate goes up during the interval, or if the heart rate stabilizes on the level. So when you see, okay, the heart rate goes up too much, you see, okay, the interval was maybe a little bit too much, and then the last interval it was in the schedule we cannot finish because it was too hard. But then you know for the next time, okay, I should reduce the power maybe by 10 watts or 50. But if I would tell you to the interval by heart rate, say to the whatever 170 heart rate, you have to start very hard to get your heart rate up. Then you have to reduce constantly your power and to get the heart rate high. But this is not what we want. Because either way you are in the wrong training zone. The training zone when you specify the power, it's much easier to hold. Much easier. And when you know your body, you know how strong you are, then it's very easy to find the right power level, and then you know upfront from the training, okay, I can finish all my 5 or 6 intervals when I stay in this watt zone.
I love it. Sounds like I need to hire you to be my trainer. You're the master at this.
No, I worked with the German Federation from 89 to the Olympic Games in Atlanta, and I recorded all the training data.
Wow.
Team versus back versus on the road. So.
That's awesome. Okay. Let me see. How can customers buy a crank if they want one? And do they buy one that is a pre-made for you replace there, or do they take their existing crank? So like right now, I'm buying a new bike. So I'm doing the Di2 new electronic shifting. If I want your power meter, do I just buy one directly from you? Do I send my crank into you? How does that all work?
Okay, we have, I think, 50 or 60 different power meter models, and we have power meters an existing crank fits on, like Cannondale, Specialized, Rotor, and we have power meters. The crank is specifically made for this power meter, like Campagnolo, Shimano. So, for example, you buy a Specialized bike, and you have a Specialized crank, you can send us the crank, and we put the spider on your crank.
Okay.
Or I think a bike ship can also put the spider on your crank, and then you need to send us the crank. But if you have a Shimano, you need to get the Shimano crank from us. If you have a Cannondale, you can use a Cannondale crank. If you have a rotor crank, you can use a rotor crank. And we have several other cranks. I think SRAM, you can use the SRAM crank. And you save them the money from the crank.
Okay, good.
The Shimano, you need to buy the crank with the power meter as one unit.
So I'm buying the wrong stuff then. I'm buying Shimano.
No, it's not wrong. Shimano, I would say their power meters, they are equal. And I like, for example, power meters like Cannondale, Specialized, Campagnolo, because they are made in a very specific way attached to the crank. They are attached to the lock-ring.
Yeah.
But I prefer, and Shimano and some others are attached to bolts like SRAM. At my point of view, this is not as good, but it works too.
Yeah.
So but I prefer a way that power meter is attached to the crank with a lock-ring.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, that's to say.
All right. So here's another big question here. All other power meters out there claim the same accuracy, like I said before, as SRM. What is SRM's impressions of these claims?
I simply do not care that much. I care on our product that our power meter matches the accuracy we have, and we have a lot of power meters. But if you talk about accuracy, I think you have to define what is accuracy, and how can you check in the training is it still accurate? Like there was a big temperature drop, as the zero offset followed the temperature drop or not, and things like this. So it's not that easy like in a laboratory you make a test and see, okay, that we don't have a ramp, this is 2% really like it is, but this is the same outside. When you start training in the morning, 5 Celsius, lunchtime you're at 25, then you get in a long line, the temperature drops. This is the same accuracy in the big and the little chain ring, measures in every position of the crank, the same accurate, all the things. And we put all these things into our, when we say 2.5% is the worst, it could be inaccurate. But in the real, it is much better. And I don't know exactly the others, how they say, they simply pull out a number, okay, accuracy is 2% or 1.5 or whatever. But important for you is, at the end of the day, is how reliable it is. And is it always the same error? So
right.
When your power meter always shows 1% too much, and it's always 1%, then it's fine. The problem is, if, for example, they say accuracy 2.5, today is 2.5 too much, the next day is 2.5 too less, already you have 5% difference. Or if this 5% changes during the day, these are the big questions. So, because let's say you use 300 watts, then it's 5%, 1% is 3 watts, 5% is 15 watts. And this is then already a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know how the other do this, but we make with every power meter test, calibration test, C measures it and the clock position of the crank the same, like left and right side are they very symmetric, big and little chain ring, and then with different loads. They should all match and should be in the specification. Yeah, it must be linear.
Gotcha. Well, one thing is that it's nice to be compared to all the time, I guess, because that means you know you're doing something right. At the same time, I'm sure there's days that it becomes frustrating because, I mean, there's all sorts of power meters out there. I mean, I've seen prices down to $100 power meter that they say works to a $3,000 power meter, you know, and it's hard for the consumer to look at all of that and say, wow, this is what I really need to, you know, to take my training to the next level. I'm never going to be a pro, obviously, but I sure like to watch my data and look at things and, you know, the accuracy. So for the consumer standpoint, I sure wish there was an easy way to be able to say, this is it.
Yeah, that's difficult. I think for a consumer it's difficult. It's not like, okay, you buy a car like you buy a new Porsche and there's written that Porsche has 400 horsepower.
Right.
Okay, on my Porsche is 400 horsepower, the engine goes up whatever to 9,000 RPM or whatever, I don't know if it's maybe more. Then you have to make the car that's torque meter. I don't really know if this is true or not. Or maybe when you buy a Porsche, maybe your Porsche is a little stronger than the other one. So a customer, it's an himself cannot really specify this.
Yeah.
Unless he takes some power meter like our put on the weight and see, okay, I hang on 50 kilogram on the crank and I show what does the power meter measure. And if the power meter says, okay, I have 50 kilogram on the crank, then you know, okay, my power meter measure. Correct.
Yeah.
So, and like you buy a scale for your body and you are not sure if the scale is correct or not, and then okay, you have a weight. You go maybe in the mail office, weight the weight, and say, okay, it's 25.6 kilogram, and then you put the weight and do the scale at home. And the scale says exactly what the scale in the post office shows, then you know, okay, my scale is correct. Then you're happy. So,
yeah.
This is what a customer or a university can do when they have an SRM. This is what the PCF did with all SRMs they had. So they checked it at their own to be sure they're absolutely accurate. This is easy to do with an SRM.
Yeah.
But it's needed, but if someone wants, can check this.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point that you can actually go out and in the car world or in the truck world, that's a dyno. You know, they can go out and put it on a dyno and get as exact as they want to, but the same thing that your capability you have. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate you enduring from the beginning. I'm sure when you started SRM, you probably weren't this celebrity type of status you are today as far as people going, wow, I've got to have power. This is the wave of the future. I'm sure you had a lot of uphill battles, and I appreciate you sticking those battles through and bringing power to where it is today. And I think it's helping millions of athletes. I'm sure at the beginning it just helped pros, but now it's helping people like me that was unobtainable a long time ago. So thank you so much for being persistent in your career and helping us all out there with power and building such an amazing product and taking time out of your day to speak to us and help us to learn power better. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And hopefully down the road here, when you get your newer stuff out, I'd love to interview you again and have you show us that and do some other interviews with you as far as looking at some power curves and use your knowledge. You're an absolute amazing resource.
I have to do a great thing on our SRM blog to get up files there during the tour every day from a winner or a stage or the overall yellow jersey leader. We had great files we got this year from the Tour of Spain. We have, I think, all files from the winnings of the Worlds.
It's awesome.
So people look deeper in the files, they can go on our website and there's a lot of blogs, triathlon, mountain biking, everything. They can analyze this and they can have a closer look what the pros and triathletes put out to win a race.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for doing that. I hope this year to be able to try out one of your power meters and give it a go. Like I said, I think that you make an amazing product, and I appreciate you taking some time today. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, or did we cover most of the stuff?
Right now, I have nothing in my mind. No, I think I look for next year again to the Tour de France, for the races. I think we should, on our side of the company, do a little more with the Grand Fondo riders, the Masters. Maybe focus a little more on this. And no, I'm looking next year to the Tour and see if we'll be the strongest. Will be interesting. That's it. So I have nothing to add right now.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for this interview and the opportunity to tell my point of view.
Absolutely. Okay, well, if anybody has questions on this interview, make sure you put your comments below. This will be on YouTube for you to read. SRM's team will be able to get back and answer some of those questions for you. Thanks for watching the interview. And Uli, thank you so much for taking time out for us. And once again, if you don't ask questions, you'll never get your answers. You've got the resources now from SRM to answer those for you. So make comments below and get involved in the community, and make sure you go visit their blog and learn a lot more about power, learn about their power meters before you buy your next power meter. Make sure you've checked them out, do your due diligence, and understand all the facts. Thanks again, and we'll be talking to you soon.